Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Robin Hamilton. I'm one of the admission counselors here at Oxy. We will get started in just a minute as everyone joins us and logs on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are going to get started in just a minute as everyone arrives. We're excited to see such a big group here on Thursday evening. Thank you for joining us. All right, we will get started. So again, my name is Robin Hamilton. I'm the Associate Dean of Admission here at Occidental. I'm also a graduate of Occidental. I graduated in the class of 2008. It's been a really wonderful experience to be back here in the admission office and able to work with all of our wonderful students and also get to share my excitement for Oxy with all of our wonderful prospective students and bring new students to campus. Tonight, the agenda is sort of going to be, I will start and I will share a little bit of information about Los Angeles, about our home here, frame up a little bit about our location and the experiences that our students have. And then the primary component of this evening is going to be hearing from our current students, having them talk about what it's like to be college students in Los Angeles. And we absolutely want to leave time for some Q&A at the end. So certainly as you're listening in and thinking of questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A box. We also do have some admission counselors that are working behind the scenes that are there to answer some of your questions. We know we probably won't be able to get to every question that you all have, so bear with us, but certainly as our current students are chatting, if you have anything that you want to focus on or get more information on, definitely put that in the chat. I also do want to give a plug to our information sessions. So tonight we won't be doing any admission or financial aid presentations, but there are lots of opportunities for you to hear that kind of information. So every Tuesday and Thursday, we do live information sessions with our current students as well, where you can get questions answered. There's also recorded versions of that if you want to watch it on your own time on our website. So lots of ways to get some of that more basic information, admission, financial aid information about Oxy. All right, so let's get started. So Los Angeles, I think the benefits of being in Los Angeles are truly endless when we think about a college experience. I think that Los Angeles is really inextricable for our students from their college experience. And so I want to talk a little bit about just the city in general. Los Angeles is an incredibly diverse city. It has a incredibly multi-ethnic population, and it really distinguishes itself as the cultural hub of the Pacific Rim, with over 140 countries represented, 224 different languages spoken in the city. There's just so many folks that call LA home. And I think what this means for our students is that the diverse multicultural experience that you're able to experience on campus that we so value when we think about bringing students to campus, you're able to actually experience off campus as well. And that's really different than many other liberal arts colleges when you think about folks that are going to school maybe in more rural or more suburban environments. We want to make sure that students are able to find that cultural support on campus, but also off campus. So I think that's something that truly makes Oxy unique and provides our students wonderful opportunities. When we talk about Los Angeles, I always want to give students kind of an understanding of actually where we are and what an urban campus, an urban liberal arts campus really can look like. So as you'll see here on the screen, this is a map of our campus. It is sort of the highlighted grayed out area in the foreground. And you can see the rest of Los Angeles really laid out in front of you. I know we have folks tuning in from all over the country. We are in Northeast Los Angeles, kind of right at the corners of Eagle Rock and Highland Park, which are two really wonderful neighborhoods in LA, two of my favorite parts of Los Angeles, even if I didn't live in Los Angeles, places that or if I didn't live here, places I would always want to spend my time. We are just north of downtown, which you can see sort of in the background, and then the rest of Los Angeles is really sort of laid out in front of you. Oftentimes students want to ask us, how do we get around LA? And we're going to definitely have our students address that a little bit, but we like to think about our neighborhoods in particular as an extension of our campus. And so even before you're worried about how do I get in a car or hop on the metro, thinking about what's just in your backyard is really important. Eagle Rock and Highland Park give students access to restaurants, to art galleries to bars to coffee shops to grocery stores, to a lot of really wonderful culture and a lot of wonderful communities that have been a part of Northeast Los Angeles for a long time. So we'll probably hear a little bit more about how our own students engage, whether it's just walking off campus or being involved in clubs and organizations, but we're always thinking about how do we be really wonderful stewards of our particular neighborhood and our particular corner of Los Angeles. Academics in Los Angeles is one of the key ways that we really use LA to enhance the work that you do in the classroom. As one of the few liberal arts colleges in a major city, the only liberal arts college in Los Angeles, we think that this really gives our students an edge up. It allows our students to not only have really wonderful intellectual conversations in the classroom, but hopefully take those conversations to the next step, to kind of ask those so what and those what comes next questions, to think about how is what I'm talking about and reading about and learning about in the classroom really actually going to carry over into what I'm passionate about? How am I going to leave the world a better place? How am I going to think about using the tools that I'm learning in the classroom for good? So for example, we are always trying to find ways to get our students out into the city and also bring the city to LA. What you see here in this picture is actually an economics class that is focusing around global trade, and they are down at LA's port. So getting a chance to talk with practitioners, learn about what happens as a port city and ask questions. And again, sort of compare and contrast. Here's what we're talking about and what we're learning about. Is that what we're actually seeing on the ground? There's other wonderful examples of bringing LA to campus, things like our theater department that oftentimes have opportunities to go see shows in the city and then bring someone from that production into their classroom, whether it's a writer or a stage manager, a costumer, an actor or director. There are infinite ways that our faculty do a wonderful job of bringing LA into their classroom and also making sure that our students are able to go out to the city as well. There are also so many opportunities in Los Angeles, particularly when it comes to pre-professional opportunities. When we think about the arts, there are 23,000 arts jobs in the city of LA, which means we are the country's really leading artistic center, even surpassing places like New York. We're the premier destination for students that are thinking about getting into the entertainment industry. There's also opportunities for working in government, for digital media, for manufacturing. We're a major tech center. There's 700,000 people that work in health services and biomedical activities, 190,000 in the regional area that work in aerospace. So a variety of different industries are available to our students to take advantage of, engage with, and explore during their time at Oxy. You've also seen that we are home to one of the largest twin port complexes in the Western Hemisphere. So processing about 40% of the goods that enter the US and providing really direct and indirect thousands of jobs to folks in the city and surrounding areas of Los Angeles. So there is such a diversity in terms of the industry, job opportunities, in ways that our students can really be building their resume at the same time as they're working towards their diploma. And then finally, just experiencing LA. I like to highlight that LA is a really fun place to go to school as well. There are wonderful academic and pre-professional reasons that LA is a great place to go to school. But when we think about the weather, we think about the beaches, the ability to go to a Dodgers game. Hopefully they're doing well tonight. The cultural experiences, the music, the arts, there is so much to do in Los Angeles. And so I hope that we'll also get to spend some time this evening sharing a little bit about just the fun things that our students are able to do in the city. So with that, I do want to start by introducing our current students so they can start telling you about their experiences in LA. We'll stop sharing, see all of us. But we have three wonderful current students with us. We will start with Jordan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin. Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan. I am a senior economics major from New York City. I love Oxy, and I've been able to do so many really amazing things. I participate on something called the Blythe Fund, which is our student managed investment portfolio. We're able to invest 6 figures in whatever we want to do. I've also been on student government, where I was able to manage our budget. We have about $1 million per year that we can put toward any student activities. And then I've also studied abroad in Malaysia. I had the wonderful opportunity of studying abroad during COVID. So I got 38 days away from Oxy, but great time.
Wonderful, thank you. Avani?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Robin. My name's Avani. I am a senior politics major here at Oxy. I'm also a gender, women, and sexuality studies minor. During my time at Oxy, I've been really privileged to have the opportunity to intern with two members of Congress, Adam Schiff and Senator Kamala Harris. So those have been invaluable experiences as I start to look to how I'm going to enter the job market in politics. I'm also really invested in restorative justice work here on campus, and I'm currently doing research with a politics professor, Professor Piscopo, on COVID-19 and how that has affected local legislatures.
Wonderful. And Bergen?
Okay, hi everyone. So my name's Bergen. I'm a junior, originally from Wisconsin, which is where I am right now, missing the LA heat and sun. I'm a critical theory and social justice major, and I'm also the co-president of Oxy 350, which is a sustainability club on campus, as well as being involved in several other clubs like dance production and active minds.
Wonderful, thank you. So I know that one of the first experiences that our students have when they come to campus can be orientation and also a program called LA Engage, which is really built to allow our students to start to explore Los Angeles, understand different aspects of it. I know a few of you have been involved in LA Engage or participated. Does either Jordan or I think Bergen want to share a little bit about what LA Engage is and how it helps our students get to know Los Angeles?
Sure. So I did LA Engage as a freshman. I haven't gotten the opportunity to do it again since I was going to do it this year and COVID kind of ruined everything there. But I did the beach one. So basically, LA Engage was this program that you get to go to school before your orientation freshman year, and you get to do a different trip kind of depending on which one you choose. So I chose the beach one. So basically, in 2 days, myself and a bunch of other freshmen went to like 3 different beaches in 2 days. There's also one I think that goes to like a music tour where you get to do like tours of different musical areas downtown. There's also a camping trip. I can't remember exactly what all the trips are, but for me, I did the beach one because I'm coming from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got the Great Lakes, but we do not have the ocean. So I wanted to experience that. And my roommate was also in LA Engage, so we met each other there, and it was so fun. And I was so happy. It was a great way to like get to know other freshmen and also get to know like I met the seniors and juniors that were also like running the event, and they were like great support systems for me throughout my freshman year because they give you your number, and if I'm ever like whenever I had questions I would text and be like, what did you do in your freshman year when you didn't know what to do this? Like, so that was a really great thing, and it's awesome.
Yeah, wonderful. Jordan, anything you want to add about your LA Engage experience?
Yeah, so it was actually called Oxy Engage when I did it 4 years ago, which is wild. But I was able to do the Los Angeles wilderness trip, and I actually was able to lead that trip last season. But it's a really fun trip. Burke can touch upon some of the other ones. There's like arts and LA Underground, and then there's Black LA and Queer LA. LA Wilderness takes you to the San Bernardino Mountains and Angeles National Forest, and as well as kayaking in the Los Angeles River, which is actually possible. Lots of fun, and I was able to meet so many different friends there, and it was a nice way to ease myself into the orientation process at Oxy, which is about a week and a half long.
Okay, wonderful. So thinking about academics and how your classes have maybe been able to utilize Los Angeles, do one of you want to share a little bit about either a class field trip or field work or ways that Los Angeles has been kind of brought into your classroom? Avani, if you have an experience you want to start us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as a politics major, going to school in a huge city like Los Angeles has been an incredible opportunity, not only to kind of evaluate national politics in a major city, but also local politics. And so, being able to interact with local organizations and people really on the ground doing the work to make the change that I think all Oxy students want to see in the world has been really incredible and something I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else. And then thinking about like access to the city through classes, I took geology my sophomore year, and so it's one thing to read about tectonic plates and like the San Andreas Fault. It's a completely other thing to go stand on the actual fault line and see it up close and personal. I've also been able to go to various museums and classes that are talking about the art we're learning about. And then I would say politics wise, again, Los Angeles politics is a class offered, and it really looks at how local politics is happening. Within LA, students can go sit in on like county meetings and take notes and really think about politics on a local level, which sometimes we don't get in other classes.
That's great. I'm really happy that you highlighted that geology class. I know we are, in terms of URL majors, really heavy towards the social sciences, but our STEM students really benefit from particularly the biodiversity in the area when it comes to geology classes, or marine biology students that are able to go to the coast and do field work. Physics students that are working in Los Angeles, bio students that are doing mapping in Los Angeles. So there's a lot of really interesting ecosystems, from the mountains to the deserts to the oceans, that particularly our STEM students are able to take advantage of. Jordan, any experiences that you think really highlight how your classes or your academic programs have been so fun?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the program, the presentation that you showed us earlier showed the economics class at the Port of LA. I was actually on that trip. I got to do that trip with my economics class, and it's really great to talk about international economics and trade and tariffs, and then go to a port and understand the logistics networks that really help our society moves. And I think it was pretty amazing to be able to get so close and personal with those massive ships, and have both experts from Oxy and then experts from the port talk to us in conjunction about what that means and what that looks like and how to improve that.
Yeah, that's great. Bergen, anything to add about maybe ways that you've engaged with Los Angeles in your classes?
Sure. First of all, I'm super depressed about that geology trip. I was supposed to go on it last semester, and had to watch it virtually, which is not the same, but it's fine. My favorite class, I think, that took us into LA, and I think is a really good example of like the connections that Oxy has with LA, is a class in the urban environmental policy department that I took last year, that was called Food and the Environment. And so the first half of our semester was all in the classroom, and the entire second half of the semester was just us doing field trips to different food justice organizations in Southeast LA and South Central LA. So I know a lot of people, like I've volunteered with those organizations since that class, which is really cool. I've kind of developed a relationship with them. I know some people even got like internships after that, like met the people there and emailed them and got to work with them over the summer. So that was a really cool experience.
Wonderful, thank you. Alana, you touched on this a little bit, but can you or either Bergen and Jordan talk a little bit about how you think Los Angeles, just being able to be in a city, has changed or influenced the work that you've done in the classroom, like changed how you studied politics or changed how you've studied economics or enhanced it in some way?
Yeah, I think as you said earlier, it's an incredibly diverse city. And so the kind of amount of opportunities there, it's really limitless. And when you're reading certain concepts in a book, being able to go out into the actual city and see it for yourself really humanizes what you're talking about and makes you see it in a way that's not just like on a test or something that your professor is saying, you're really living it as well. And so I think also access to local organizations and volunteering opportunities has really made me feel like I excel as a student because I'm able to engage in the work that I'm reading on the page. And I think also it makes me feel better about how I'm utilizing my time, because I recognize that I'm being able to go out into the community and help in ways that our professors are essentially tell us that we can help in. And so I think in that way, it's been a really invaluable opportunity.
Wonderful. Anything to add, either Bergen or Jordan, about how it's sort of changed what you think maybe studying economics or CTSJ or UEP?
I think for economics, a lot of what I struggled with initially was just talking about theory and then not seeing it in practice. But one really amazing thing that my professors were able to do is connect with folks in other departments. And the project that keeps coming to mind is an economics professor that connected with kinesiology professors to talk about the effects of building playgrounds in Los Angeles public school properties, I guess, and using economics to sort of quantify those effects. And it was really nice to be able to apply those really, niche quantitative tools to seeing how they actually affect the communities that we've adopted at Oxy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Bergen, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, they have said good things. I don't want to sound redundant or anything. For me, I think because I come from not like the smallest town ever. I technically come from a city, but Wisconsin cities are very different than California cities. I think the best thing is like, regardless of what department my class is in, like since LA is such a big city for one, but also it's such a like city with so many different cultures within it that like whatever you're studying is going to be there. So you can go like to different communities and have a different experience and learn a different thing, like regardless of what you're studying, which is such a broad thing to say, but I think it's like such a great opportunity because whatever you're learning about, you'll have the opportunity to do that hands-on in LA.
Yeah, I think Los Angeles is such a good microcosm for anything that you're talking about in the classroom. It's probably happening somewhere in the city. Brian, you mentioned moving from a smaller town, from out of state. Jordan, you did the same. Can you talk a little bit about what your transition to Oxy was from the Midwest, and then Jordan from New York, and how you sort of acclimated, and what were maybe some of the main differences you experienced?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm from not the smallest town, but a smaller town in comparison to LA, from Wisconsin. So my transition was not that hard. I mean, I am kind of one of those people that just kind of like adapts to wherever I am. And it was great because I was going there in August. So it was still warm in Wisconsin. And then September, it was getting colder in Wisconsin. And then October, it was getting colder, and November. And I was just there like in LA, and it was hot the whole time. So I was like bragging and posting on my story all the time and going to the beach. So it was hilarious. But I mean, in terms of like differences, there's a huge difference just in like, you step off the Oxy campus and you're in this huge city. And when I step out of my house, I'm in this like tiny little residential area. So that was something that I had to kind of get used to, but it wasn't ever something that was like difficult for me because I like big cities more than I like small towns. So I enjoyed that difference, just because I feel like there's more opportunities and there's like always more people to see. And I feel like in my town, I know everyone everywhere I go, and it stresses me out. So in LA, I'm like, I probably won't see anyone when I step off campus that I know. So that was actually a good thing for me. So my transition was pretty good. Also, if you're from the Midwest and you're worried about like Midwest niceness not translating, it does. The people I've met in LA are so nice. It's kind of a dumb stereotype that like the Midwest people are just nicer than everyone else. Although I do apologize more than anyone I know. I say sorry for
Got it. Got it. Jordan, what was your, obviously very different coming from a big city to a big city? What was that transition like?
Well, I think the biggest difference between New York and LA for me was that it never gets cold in LA. Like that's something that you really don't understand until you're in LA, that you can always be outside no matter the month, which is really nice. But for me, LA was a bit strange. First of all, I don't have a driver's license. I still don't. I'm 21 years old, which is embarrassing. But I think that comparing New York to LA was difficult for me because New York is so much more dense, and even though we're so diverse, everything is a little more mixed. I think LA is much different in that you can spend an entire month in East LA and then go to West LA or to the Valley and have a completely different experience. There are so many different cultures in LA, and I don't mean to say that it's segregated, but it's that because it's so spread out, you can spend so much time understanding and discovering really amazing things and understanding new cultures that you wouldn't have been able to. And that was really the coolest part, just like being 4 years on campus or almost 4 years on campus and not feeling like I have a solid understanding of the region and still being able to find things that surprise you. And I think in terms of transitioning, you just have to like be comfortable with putting yourself out into these new situations. It's LA is massive and you have to be cool with just traveling. And I was able to do that my first year up until now, and I've had a great time.
That's wonderful. Ivana, you're from Los Angeles. Is there anything that you sort of learned new about your city when you came to LA, or were there fun things that you were really excited to like share with your classmates that were not from Los Angeles?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say both. I mean, even after my first year, I would always tell like my parents and my family, I feel like I've seen more of LA in this year alone than in the 18 years before college. Because I think Jordan was like absolutely right. You can spend, in my case, basically 18 years in your one little neighborhood or your one little area without really going beyond that. And so the first year, especially, and like the first month, even, I was going into neighborhoods that I had never experienced or never seen. And I think the reason for that was because I had so many friends coming from different geographic areas and they really wanted to experience LA and see areas of it. And I was the one with the car. So I was the one driving them to these places. And in turn, like I learned a lot about LA, and some of my favorite places to go in LA now are things that I wasn't even on my radar as an 18-year-old. So it's been a great way to get to know more of the city. And I think Jordan was right again in that I still have not been everywhere. I still don't understand every single like community or what people are up to in every part of LA. And that's part of the great part of being here is you're constantly learning and you're constantly being exposed to new things and new people.
Right. Lonnie, you mentioned having a car, and we have a question from the audience about, would you say that most students have a car on campus? And then also, if each of you can kind of talk about how do you navigate the city when you are off campus and what that looks like.
Yeah, so I do have a car. I would say a decent amount of students do have a car, but that's both good in the sense that if you don't have one, you'll know somebody that has one, or you'll be the one with that one. So you'll be constantly chauffeuring people around to CVS or just to get dinner, whatever they want. But I've also found like new ways for transportation, even without my car. Like first year was really important for me to take the metro because that was something that wasn't accessible to me. There was no metro line near me growing up in my hometown. So like one of the first weekends we took the metro from Highland Park to Santa Monica. And so it's always been important for me to like try to find new ways where I'm also not the one that's constantly being depended on to get around. But yeah, Jordan, I know you're very involved in like TAP in the metro, so you probably have more to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, from a person with no driver's license, I think the best piece of advice is find a friend with a car. But you don't need to have a license to get around LA, particularly around our area. We have something called the Bangle Bus, which provides free rides, and you can use your phone to request an app. Provides free rides. I think it's in a 7-mile radius around campus, so that covers Target and all your necessities, and I think Pasadena as well. And then Avani mentioned the metro is really something that's really great. Folks, I guess, overlook LA for having poor public transit, but I think it's one of the few cities that's actively investing in it. And through student government, we were able to provide every single student a free fare card. So every time you want to ride metro, it's completely free. And as Avani mentioned, you can take it all the way to Santa Monica. It will take a little more time than folks would want, but it's clean and fast enough, and it's cheap. So um, can't complain on that front.
Yeah. Bergen, any tips or ways that you have been able to explore different parts of the city?
Yeah, definitely get a friend with a car. No, yeah, I do have my driver's license, but I hate driving. It gives me so much anxiety. So I have never driven in LA. But I have been lucky enough that my roommate, both freshman and sophomore year, did have a car. So anytime I wanted to go somewhere, they could drive me. But I also do use public transportation. And like Jordan said, I think people kind of overlook LA because there's like this stigma that like public transportation is so bad. But every time I've used it, it's been great. And I use it like to go downtown. I used it like when my boyfriend came to visit me, we used it all week. And like every single day we would go, we took it all the way to the beach. We took it like downtown, we took it to Little Tokyo. So it's much, I mean, it takes a while maybe, but that's just because LA is so spread out. Like that's not really the fault of public transportation. And I have had good experiences with it.
Great, wonderful. Related to the transition question, there is a question about safety, and with Los Angeles being a big city and also being here in Los Angeles, how do you all think about safety, and what are some of the safety precautions and measures that are available on campus? Anyone can jump in.
I can start. I mean, I think generally the cities in America are relatively safe places to be anyways. And Los Angeles is no exception to that. I think Oxy in particular is in a really great part of LA. We're in a less dense popping part of LA. It's a little quieter, somewhat suburban. I think our immediate neighborhood is very safe, and I've never felt uncomfortable walking even off campus at nighttime. But in terms of on-campus services, we do have a uniformed campus safety service, which is they're really nice folks. And at nighttime, if you ever feel uncomfortable walking back to your dorm, they're happy to offer any rides from wherever you're going to your dorm. And then there's also something called the Live Safe app, which allows you to uh, request like pickups. It allows you to request campus safety officers or an escort. It really allows you to just have that peace of mind, even if you don't necessarily want to use any services that come with a campus safety officer with you. But I personally think Oxy is very safe. I've never felt uncomfortable on campus, and I think um, our neighborhood's really a prime reason for that.
Vonnie or Bergen have anything to add to that?
I would just say, I think like anywhere else, you just exercise self-awareness and like the awareness of your surroundings and, walk with a friend. And like Jordan said, I think this neighborhood is really safe. And also like we know our neighbors are coming onto campus with their dogs. So it's not like they're strangers to us. We're seeing them around the neighborhood. And I think that really helps also.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think being a small campus, you kind of know what is normal and what's out of norm, what's kind of not normal. You have folks that feel really comfortable being on campus. You have faculty and staff and students that live in the neighborhood right around. So there is a familiarity even with kind of the community off campus for sure. Wonderful. I'd love to transition a little bit and talk about internships, pre-professional opportunities, things that you've been able to take advantage of in the city of LA. Does anyone want to start and kind of share maybe an internship that you've had in Los Angeles or ways that you've engaged in sort of professional experiences?
Yeah, I can start. So I've had 2 internships while at Oxy. So in summer of 2019, that was with Congressman Adam Schiff. And so I was working in his district office, which means it's really focused on like the constituent services. And I think that was really helpful in that you hear about all these issues facing local constituents, and then to actually talk to them and listen to them and hear their stories, it really humanized. I think Jordan put it really well. It like puts theory into practice and it really humanizes what they're discussing. And so that was also a really fun internship because I got to go to a lot of field events. So like I think one of my most quintessential LA experiences was walking in LA Pride in West Hollywood with Congressman Adam Schiff as he was like hanging out of a convertible and just seeing everybody with like their signs and posters. And also we got to go to like an opening of an affordable housing living center. And so being able to see these topics that we talk about in our classes actually come to action and how our local leaders are really making strides in order to get there was great. And then this past summer, I worked as a press intern for Senator Kamala Harris. That was a little bit different because it was a teleworking position. But again, it was also an incredible experience because in this case, it was more national politics in California, but it was also really shining a light on the issues that Californians are facing. In one specific example, there was a 15-year-old who came over to the United States, Los Angeles, to receive treatment for brain cancer, and his parents weren't going to be able to come over in time to say goodbye to him. ICE wasn't granting permission. And so to see how her office actually made it possible for this child to have at least a few peaceful moments with his family was really powerful. And I will always remember that moment. So just having an Oxy education that really prepared me to take place in those moments was really incredible and amazing.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Jordan or Bergen, any sort of like internship or pre-professional experiences in the city? Want to share them?
Yeah, I've had a sort of 2 different experiences with Los Angeles and internships. I think the first one is just maybe not Los Angeles specific, but something really cool that I think the Career Center helps us do is expand non-West Coast folks to West Coast opportunities. So I was able to get an internship through the Career Center in San Francisco, which is not in LA, but it's close enough. But I think beyond that, it just allows us to expand, especially for folks who want to get into the entertainment industry, expand into industries that are really based in California, in Los Angeles. But on the more academic side, I'm taking a public health practicum right now. and I'm working at a maternal health organization. And I think something really cool about it is that you get to understand that the United States is very diverse. And so is Los Angeles, where most of the folks that we're serving do not speak English at all, and are on something called Medi-Cal, which is our Medicare program for low-income Californians. Being able to understand that these communities exist just miles away from where you have like the richest celebrities in the world, it was really important for me to understand it and figure out how not figure out, but I think, yeah, figure out how I can help, have a role in solving some of these issues that are just a few blocks away from me.
Thank you. I think that actually is a really good segue. There are a couple of questions of students are asking about community engagement and how clubs and organizations or students at Oxy think about engaging in the community and being a part of Los Angeles responsibly. Have any of you been involved in clubs or organizations or just activities that have connected you to the community, or maybe had friends that have done such events? Bergen, anything that comes to mind when you think about community engagement?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm the co-president of Oxy 350, which is technically a sustainability club, but we have been trying to take more of an environmental justice approach rather than just like a climate-based approach. So one of the coolest things we did last year was we got to partner with an organization, a nonprofit in LA, and we helped them with their um, I think they did it every other Saturday, blind and low vision grocery shopping event. So what they do is they have people in the community who are blind or low vision who go to a different farmers market in LA, and they help provide rides to those people and then also lead them around the farmers market and help them do their grocery shopping. So what we got to do was partner with them, and I actually met that guy in that organization through my UEP class that I was talking about earlier. So he is awesome, and that was kind of a cool connection for me because I got to use this organization that I used or that I learned about in my class and then help them and work with them after the class with my club and get more students involved in that. So we now have like a really good relationship. I get like all their emails. If we were in LA, we would be doing more events with them. Unfortunately, we can't do that this semester, but that's probably the best experience I've had.
That's wonderful. Havani or Jordan, any sort of community engagement type experiences you've been a part of?
One that comes to mind that I haven't personally been a part of, but I think it shows the best of Oxy is Leg Up Los Angeles, which a group of Oxy students founded to kind of address a lot of the inequities that have been further perpetrated or perpetuated by COVID-19. And so they will raise funds and then take sanitation kits or food kits to unhoused populations when there were a lot of protests over George Floyd's murder and police brutality in June. They would also raise funds to take water and hand sanitizer and masks to protesters to make sure that we were all practicing safety while protesting for a really important cause. And so I think it shows like even when school is not technically in session, Oxy students are still really actively engaged in the local communities and trying to support communities and bring communities together in the ways that we can.
Wonderful. Jordan, anything to add to that about community engagement or just programs that you've seen your peers be a part of?
Yeah, I think on the student government end, there's also something really interesting that I've been able to observe. I think folks don't often think of Los Angeles as a college town, but we have so many large universities nearby. And something really cool about Oxy students is that we are naturally activists. And in wanting to be better at that, we often connect with other folks at other schools to help build our skills and figure out ways where we can, or how we can share best practices. And I think that's been a really fun way that I participated in the community, both in, it involves folks that are in schools nearby and then schools way out east. And I think in many ways it's helped us create better institutions that serve students right here on campus.
Okay, wonderful. So thinking about just some kind of fun things, I would love to hear all of your like favorite spots in LA, maybe one that is in our neighborhoods, kind of Eagle Rock or Highland Park, and then one that's maybe outside of Eagle Rock and Highland Park. Whoever thinks it has theirs, go first.
I have a cafe I really like. It's on York Boulevard, which is a few blocks away, like 2 or 3 blocks away from campus. I go there every single Sunday, or I used to go there every single Sunday, and I'd sit there for hours. It's called Kumquat Coffee. It's like this really, really cute cafe that's like hip and you feel cool because everyone walking in there looks cool. And you get your like matcha latte that's actual matcha. It's really great.
Mhm. Other neighborhood places that you love, and then I'll want to hear your non-neighborhood places.
Yeah, I think kumquat, I definitely hands down like best matcha. They also have something called like a maple latte, which is really, really good. Um, I love this is actually on campus, but the Greek Bowl is like one of my favorite places in life. I think it's just so like it's so beautiful no matter what time of day you go there, and it's always nice. I like to journal, so I'll take my journal up there sometimes and just write about what's going on in my life. But it's also fun to see what people are up to. Sometimes I'll get motivated because I'll see people running the stairs and feel like I need to be more active in my life. But other than that, I would say just the views, Fiji too, which is the mountain on Oxy's campus.
Yeah, I'll just echo because I was gonna say York Boulevard and Fiji. So definitely Fiji. I went there like the first night of my freshman year and like cried because you can just see the lights and like I was like, this is not Wisconsin. So definitely recommend like anything where you can like see the view of LA. If you're not from LA, you will be like astounded by that. Which is also why I like hiking to the Hollywood sign, even though it's such a touristy thing to do and everybody says it's overrated. It kind of is. I mean, like the sign itself is definitely overrated, but the view, if you go on top, like behind it, and you just get the view of like all of LA and you can see the beach in the distance and the ocean, is just like unbelievable. But in terms of like near Oxy, definitely I would say York Boulevard and Fiji.
Wonderful. I think hiking to the Hollywood sign is certainly like a quintessential LA moment, and I don't discourage anyone from doing it one time, especially when you arrive to LA. Are there other sort of like quintessential LA things that you have done or moments that you've had that you've just really loved and you're like, oh yeah, I live in LA, or that something that can only happen in Los Angeles?
Oh, okay. I can't answer that. I was gonna give another spot.
Sure, go for it.
There's Griffith Observatory, which is like the fake LA hike to do. It's not like actual hiking, but everyone calls it that. But above Griffith Observatory is something somewhere called Dante's Peak, and it has the coolest view ever because you can see like the entire like grid structure of Los Angeles' streets. And if you go up there at nighttime, it's like the quintessential like LA photo. It has like lights for as far as you can see, and you see like the cool like square grids. It's really amazing. Really, yeah.
Absolutely. I think Griffith is a great quintessential LA spot. Ivani, you have lots of LA experience. What are some quintessential things, or maybe just like a good LA moment that's
Yeah. So I was like terrified of driving to the west side or beyond, I would say Glendale, before I started Oxy. Glendale's like right next to Oxy for people that don't know. But so the thing I've like learned to love is driving through canyons in LA. So I love driving through like Laurel Canyon with the windows down and music blasting. That just feels like a quintessential like California girl type energy. So that I think that's my favorite thing is driving around all the neighborhoods that I didn't see before and taking the sights in.
awesome. Cool. All right. So we have some wonderful questions in the Q&A, and certainly keep them coming. We have a few about transition. So we'll go Jordan first. How was your holiday break commute back to New York? Fellow New Yorker in the crowd wants to know, what's it like maybe getting back and forth to the city, and how often do you do that? How manageable is that?
Yeah, so I think during fall semester, Thanksgiving is a big time that I try to get back home. I'm lucky enough to be able to afford that, but for students who aren't able to, Oxy has a really nice Thanksgiving feast in our cooler. But yeah, I try to go back for at least once per semester. I haven't always been able to do that. Last spring, I actually just went on a trip with my friends, but I think it's relatively easy. Like it's that 6 hour flight plus the 2 hours to and from LAX with traffic. But it's always nice to be able to go home and then go back to LA and appreciate what you have. But nothing in particular I can say on that. Just New York. It's great to get a taste of that and then go home to LA.
Yeah. Bergen, someone has asked, do you miss Wisconsin winters? And are there diverse opportunities to go out in nature? And that can kind of maybe be for all of you if you have found ways to get out into the city. And Jordan, I guess, also do miss New York winters too. But Bergen, do you want to share about Wisconsin winters?
Not at all. Like 0%, like -%. I do not miss winter. I hate winter. Snow is pretty. I think everyone should see snow at some point in your life, but no, I hate winter because I get cold and like 70-degree weather. So when it's like -20, I can't handle it. One thing I will say though, if you're like worried about missing Wisconsin or Midwest winters or just cold or winter in general, I guess, because LA doesn't have it at all, is that like for me, so I was always going home during winter break. So I got my like, it's not cold in LA through like December, but then I was home for December, the majority of December and January. So I didn't get to avoid it completely. But if you're worried about missing that, you will probably get that opportunity to go home during the winter months. And then in terms of like, are there opportunities for nature in LA? Absolutely. Like they are everywhere. One of my favorite like things to do is there's so many like state parks that are so like underappreciated in LA because they're kind of just plopped in the middle of like other metropolitan areas and like places with a lot of like people buzzing around and like businesses and buildings and stuff. But if you can know where they are and find them, they are like so cute and amazing. So my favorite one that I love to go to is LA State Historic Park, which is literally like in the middle of everything. It's right across from Chinatown, and I didn't even know it was there. I would like pass it all the time and never know it was there. And then I went there with one of my classes, and it is just like the cutest area. It's like green everywhere, and there's like trees that like the community members have planted and get to put like their names on it and stuff, which is so cute. So I like to go there and like do my homework now because it's so peaceful because nobody knows that they exist. So it's just going to be like you and nature.
Awesome. Any other notes about nature excursions and ways to connect and be outside? Or missing winters, Jordan? I don't know if you are missing seasons.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't miss winter at all. That's just not something that I do. But LA winter, it means rain, and that when it rains in LA, it pours. Like it really pours for a few days, but then after it's really pretty. And the coolest thing about being in LA, especially during the like winter months, is that it'll be like in the 70s on campus, and then you look up at the mountains a few miles away with snow on top. And that's just something you never get used to. Maybe Ivana, can talk about that, but like that was the wildest thing to me, where I can just be chilling with shorts while looking at snow. But if you want winter, like you could totally drive up there. It's like 30 minutes away from campus. And my roommate did that first year. He's from Minnesota, so he did miss the snow, and he went up there to go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find it. Ivani, any favorite sort of like hikes or nature experiences in LA that you want to shout out?
I have to say, I am not the biggest nature person. I probably don't get out to the fresh air as much as I should. But Jordan brought up like the snow cap. So I live in like my hometown is La Cañada, which is it's in the foothills. And so it really is like a 25-minute drive up to the snow. And that's something that my family and I always do around like New Year's is we'll take a few sleds up and take in the snow for the five minutes that we can, since we definitely don't see it too often. I think it snowed once in my life and I was like 4 years old, so I doubt that's ever going to happen again. But also the beach, my friends absolutely love the beach. They've been to the beach more in the last 3 years than I've ever been to in my life. So that's another aspect of LA's nature.
Cool. There is a question from a student. Can students take advantage of the music scene in LA, or anything that you all have to say about experiencing music in Los Angeles, and maybe on and off campus? Anyone have any notes on that?
Okay, I can jump in. I'm definitely not the off-campus music person. I'm sure someone else on the panel can talk about that, but I am the biggest advocate for student government, and we are able to provide really great concerts. In previous years, we've had Joey Badass, Kaylani, Goldlink, and a really, really cool thing about that is that because we are in LA, we have access to so many amazing artists, and we certainly take advantage of that. And it's entirely student funded. So the greatest part is that if you want an artist that is reasonably affordable to us, chances are you can advocate for that and it will happen.
Yeah, Fall Fest and Spring Fest are so cool. Fall Fest last year was like the best day of my semester because it was Tierra Whack and she's like my favorite artist ever. And I saw her in Chicago in the summer and then I got to see her again and I was in the front and she said my name and I like cried for days. um I actually lied and told her it was my birthday. I don't know if I should be saying that because that's really embarrassing now because everyone will know. But she gave me a bag of gummy worms and it was everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is really cool because it's like you get to bring artists that people would pay like actual money. Like I paid a lot of money to see Tierra Whack in the summer, and then I got to see her for free at Oxy. So I'm just echoing exactly what Jordan said, but definitely go to Fall and Spring Fest if you can, if you come to Oxy. There's always concerts happening off campus too. I also am not the biggest, like, I don't go to concerts that often, but my friends who are like super into concerts will go like just randomly on the weekend and be like, oh, I heard that Lulu is here right now and it's $20 or whatever. And so that I know that it's always happening. And like, I always know someone going to a concert like every weekend.
Yeah, and there are even, I mean, even in Highland Park, I know there's like at least one that's super, super close performance venue, like right on York Boulevard, that's just a couple blocks away. And also in Figueroa, which is maybe half a mile away, there's another performance venue that all sorts of folks are at all the time. So there's definitely lots of access, even just in our neighborhood. And obviously broader Los Angeles has pretty significant music offerings as well. But Ivani, did you want to add something?
Yeah, well, first I was gonna say Bergen. I vividly remember that moment. So it's really funny that now I know who it was. But so my best friend is like a singer-songwriter, and she is really wanting to put music out there, and she's done that in the past. But this semester, she actually has an internship with a music management company, and so she's like kind of proof that you really can manage an internship while taking a full course load at the same time. And I think for her, it's been a really incredible opportunity because she's a soc major. So it's not something that or sociology major, I should say that. So she's not, really doing music full time at school, but to have this kind of supplemental experience where she is, meeting with some really cool people that she had to sign an NDA to do. So that's been like really cool to hear from her how she's able to receive an education in something completely different than this other internship opportunity at the same time.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, last question, and kind of on just a general Oxy question. There's a question from the audience. It says, what is the overall vibe of Oxy? So how would you describe the overall vibe? Jordan, if you want to go first.
In the context of this presentation, I think Oxy is sort of a jumping off point into the greater Los Angeles area. Regardless of the major that you choose to partake in, regardless of the activity that you spend your additional time in, Los Angeles will be heavily involved in that. And that's really the best way to learn. I think, in my opinion, experiential learning is really important, and that's really central to our experiences here. So jumping off point to LA.
Cool, Bergen.
I always say this like on my tours, and I feel like it sounds like it's hard to know without knowing, if that makes sense. It's so hard to like convey what the vibe of Oxy is without being at Oxy and like being a student and knowing other students. But I always say that like Oxy students are like literally the most passionate people I've ever met. Like everybody is so passionate about something, whether it's like the most random thing in the entire world or it's like something super, important to them. And like, I mean, we're all passionate about social justice, but everybody is also passionate. Like some people are so, I always say this, but some people are so passionate about like video games that there will be like intense video game tournaments where they'll like make rubrics and like it's this whole thing, which I'm not part of clearly because I don't know anything about it. And I don't think rubric is even the right word for that. Bracket, that's the word. But yeah, so people will be passionate about like the most random stuff, but I think it's so cool because like you can just have the most passionate conversations and like heated conversations with another Oxy student, like run into them at breakfast and then just get in like a really heated discussion, which I think is really cool.
And Avani?
I think there's this phenomenon that a lot of us Oxy students will joke around about and kind of mock sometimes, which is door holding culture. But I think it really does speak to kind of Oxy's vibe in that it means when we are opening a door, we will literally get stuck there and stand there for 2 minutes holding the door open for people, not wanting to let anyone down by closing the door. And I've definitely been late to my fair share of classes before because I've been stuck at the MP, the marketplace, holding the door open for people. But I think it speaks really well to kind of the general support that we have from each other and how we always want each other to succeed, and we're always supporting and uplifting each other, and we really don't want to let any member of our community down. And so there is this really big solidarity in being a member of the Oxy community that we have. We're very proud of being an Oxy community member, and we just want to make sure that we're contributing to the community in a way that's going to make our peers just as successful as we individually want to be as well.
That's great. Thank you. And I think, as you mentioned, sort of contributing to community is what we hope that you took away from this, that Oxy is not only in Los Angeles, but we are part of this community. We think about how we engage with it responsibly through community engagement, through organizations and activities in our classes. So we are really excited that you all were able to join us today. And thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for sharing their experiences in Los Angeles. Again, if you are interested in seeing more about our information and general Oxy information, make sure that you sign up for one of our information sessions. We also are offering office hours, which are one-on-one opportunities for students to ask questions of an admission counselor. It's not evaluative, it's not a part of your application, just an opportunity to follow up. So encourage you to do that as well. And you can find all of our contact information, access to interviews, information sessions, office hours on our website. So thank you again. Thank you again to our panelists. Please enjoy your evening, and we hope to get to see you in LA soon. Have a great night.